Eastern Oregon is known for its wide-open beauty. Far-reaching valleys butt up against steep mountain ranges. Spring-fed lakes dot ridgetops. Forests of pine and fir blanket the hills. It's that ruggedness, the unspoiled nature of the land, that draws so many of the people that live here. But there's a fear among some in Eastern Oregon that the things they most value about their corner of the world are at risk. And that risk comes in the form of a 300-mile-long high-voltage transmission line. The Boardman-to-Hemingway line, known as B2H, would deliver 500 kilovolts, enough to power 150,000 homes at peak demand between southwestern Idaho and eastern Oregon.
One end of the line would be here, in Boardman, at this substation behind me. Then it would go south and east 300 miles through Morrow, Umatilla, Union, Baker, and Malheur counties before crossing into Idaho near the Owyhee Canyon.
As electric utilities work toward Oregon's clean energy goals, which call for 100% renewable energy by 2040, they're running into a problem.
The Northwest grid is nearing capacity.
That's Emily Moore, Director of Climate and Energy at the Sightline Institute, a sustainability think tank based in Washington. She said that a lack of high-voltage transmission lines could put the region's clean energy targets in jeopardy.
At a regional level, without some more transmission capacity, it's unlikely that Oregon or Washington will meet our clean electricity goals.
The answer seems simple enough. Just throw up some more lines to move all that new energy where it needs to go. But building long-distance high-voltage lines is no easy feat. In fact, there's only one such line anywhere close to construction in the entire Pacific Northwest. The $1.3 billion B2H project was first proposed in 2007, and it's been working its way through various state and federal permitting agencies for the last 16 years. It's a collaboration between PacifiCorp, the Bonneville Power Administration, and Idaho Power, which is taking the lead on getting permits for the project. Ryan Adelman, Vice President of Power Supply for Idaho Power, said the line will be a crucial conduit for clean energy, bringing high-quality wind power from other states.
B2H would provide the ability to move clean energy like Wyoming wind from, Wyoming up to the state of Oregon.
And it would run in both directions, taking power to the Intermountain West in the summer when air conditioners and irrigation cause a spike in demand, and to the Pacific Northwest in the winter when the electricity is needed to heat homes and businesses.
One of the benefits of the transmission line is that it really is a relatively minimal impact when it comes to the actual disturbance of the ground relative to what the project is able to do.
Of course, the people who actually live in those communities, they see the project a little bit differently.
And my life work basically be destroyed. It's hard to talk about without wanting to cry, actually.
Joel Rice, a psychiatrist and addiction treatment specialist in La Grande, has been acquiring land to preserve for much of his adult life.
Before I graduated from high school, I decided I wanted to preserve 2,000 acres at least of land that would stay in a natural habitat in perpetuity because I'd seen so much of the habitat that I loved destroyed by development.
He now owns nearly 2,000 acres, almost all of which he's set aside for permanent conservation. But the B2H line would cut directly through his land.
The power line will just be an absolute disaster for the ecosystem.
Rice is a member of the Stop B2H Coalition, a grassroots organization with nearly 1,000 people on its mailing list across 5 counties in eastern Oregon. As their name implies, the group has dedicated the last few years to opposing the transmission line. Jim Kreider is the co-chair.
And as we came together, we agreed the only thing was to stop the damn thing.
Along the 300-mile route, there would be more than 1,000 steel towers, standing between 100 and 200 feet tall. There would also be 200 miles of new access roads, another 222 miles that need substantial upgrades, and 10 communications buildings. In Union County, where Kreider and Rice live, and where the coalition is based, the line would run just west of Morgan Lake Park, in an area known as Glass Hill. Karin Antel, a retired botany professor at Eastern Oregon University and former manager of a research forest in the area, said the line would go through a sensitive ecosystem home to rare plants and vulnerable animal species.
It's just a unique place along this whole ridge top with really interesting botanical diversity, interesting aquatic plants, but also an important stopover location for migratory birds. Because of the mature ponderosa pine forest that's here as well, it's just prime habitat for a wide diversity of avian species.
Antel also worried that the new access roads could introduce invasive species, and that the 13 towers along the western edge of the park would go up right in front of what is now an unobstructed view of the Blue Mountains. The Stop B2H Coalition has gone as far as to have a forensic artist create a mock-up of what the towers would look like.
And then just the visual disruption for all the visitors to Morgan Lake Park. One of the main power lines would be right there on the corner, right down near Twin Lake.
Joe Stipple, project manager for Idaho Power, said the utility has conducted numerous surveys, and all their work has been given the stamp of approval by both state and federal regulators.
Both the federal government and the state have, thoroughly reviewed our work and concluded that there are no unreasonable impacts.
And when the state issued approval to the route, it included stipulations that construction crews create buffers for vulnerable species. But Antel isn't convinced those will provide any meaningful protection.
So the thing about rare species is they're rare for reasons.
And the environmental issues are just one of the reasons the coalition has opposed the line. There are different issues for each county the line would run through. In Morrow County, dry wheat farmers worry about fire risk. In Umatilla County, sheep ranchers fear it could interfere with their livelihoods. The route through Baker County would put the line right in front of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center. And in Malheur, the line would be draped across the mouth of the Oahe Canyon. But overriding all of those issues, the coalition argues that the line, which has an expected lifespan of 100 years, will be obsolete within a few decades as energy production becomes less centralized, with rooftop solar, battery storage, and microgrids.
Why would we have a long-distance, obsolete overhead transmission line when they can do smaller microgrids, more decentralized, oriented energy?
That's Fuji Kreider, treasurer and secretary of the coalition. She said the group is currently fighting its last stand in Oregon Supreme Court, where they've challenged decisions by the Oregon Department of Energy, which recently approved the route. But even Kreider is realistic about their chances of actually stopping the line. She hopes that enough delays to the project will force the utilities to reconsider.
I'm not so grandiose to think we're going to stop the line, but the energy industry will stop this line, and we believe in that, and we believe in the changes that are coming.
I think about a third of Oregon's electricity demand could be met by rooftop solar, and we're nowhere near that. So there's a lot of room for growth there.
But more, the energy expert from the Sightline Institute said it's unlikely that solar and batteries alone will solve the issues facing the grid. And she said that's because political leaders and utilities have failed to come up with a long-term, holistic plan that addresses transmission needs across the entire region.
We need to develop a 20-year plan to identify exactly how much more transmission we need and to be able to start siting it in a thoughtful, responsible way and minimize unnecessary build-out and harm to potentially sensitive ecosystems and other considerations.
The Supreme Court is expected to rule on the last challenges to the B2H project in June. And if they're unsuccessful, Idaho Power said they expect to start construction soon after, the line being fully operational within 3 years. Cale Williams, KGW News.